Okay, so if you've seen my tweets over the past few hours, you'll know that I was prancing around Twitter saying that, oh, this is going to be unrehearsed, but it ended up actually being kind of partially rehearsed because I had to do this intro about 5 times because I start doing the intro and then someone walks in. And I obviously can't do it in front of someone walking in because someone will really walk in behind. So, but anyway, enough complaining. I'm already doing it. So, the new Beast album's out. Yay, Beast! So yeah. So, was I gonna talk about that again? Oh yeah. Sorry. So before I even heard the album, I I already had something to say about it, about the title. Like, fiction and fact. Fiction and fact. Okay, so this may be something. This might have something to do with the first two songs on the album, which are fact and then fiction, which is kind of weird because if they were really doing the first two tracks, it would have been fact and fiction, not fiction and fact. But it could also be another screwed up English title. Some I think they're trying to say fact or fiction, but they just put it together. So let's say, yay, fiction and fact. Okay. Anyway, music. No, it doesn't mean. I've always liked Beast. I made it no secret. Obviously, I like Beast. I like Beast. I do, and I've been with them since the beginning. They're one of the first few acts that I actually followed from their debut. I mean, so I mean, I get kind of touched or teary eyed when this album came out because oh my god, it's been so long. So yeah, when they debuted, they were better than M Black. Obviously, I chose them over M. But then again, almost anyone could have been better than M Black at that point. So, but they've really gotten better. Each release got stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. I was talking to Makaroth this a few hours ago, and he was saying that they've grown exponentially. So I'll use his term. They've grown exponentially. Yeah. So at first I was in for the fact that they were better than M Black, and they weren't half bad actually. But then as time went by, it became really evident that they're actually really good. um, you can see that they really try. You know, even if they're not the most talented people around, because they're not. I mean, easily I can name a dozen other singers better than them. But the fact is, they try. They try and push the boundaries with what they do. I mean, it's not really, they don't really push them really that far, but for a band of their stature, they've done some things that others wouldn't really dare try to do. And the main thing is those harmonies. Mm. My favorite Beast performance, one of my favorites, was the one of Easy with those pretty 3-4 part harmonies. That was, see, you can see that, you know, the harmonies weren't amazing. I wasn't blown away or anything, and they're really far from the good people. But they try, and it wasn't half bad, to be honest with you. So, and another thing is, yeah, they have good material. But there's one thing to have good material and or good or talent. But it's another thing to actually take material that not only suits but emphasizes your talent. And whoever has been doing the A&R, all the A&R for Beast, is really good. I mean, Cube kind of screwed it up with 4 Minute. Apart from maybe Mirror Mirror a bit. I don't even want to talk about Aping. No, I will not have it corrupting this vlog. But they've really, really, really gotten it right with Beast. Really. Bad Girl. What's that? Shock, Zoom, and Beautiful. Even if I didn't really follow them from during Zoom and Beautiful, those tracks were really fit them, and they were actually kind of good. So now this album, this album, and I have notes. So basically, this album has a very strong repertoire. Their repertoire has gotten really strong over the past few albums, and this is kind of like the height of it all. It's a strong repertoire, both together and apart. Um, it's not just one of those albums that only makes sense together, or doesn't make sense together but makes sense apart, but or only has a few good songs and all of that. From start to finish, it's a strong album. But you see how each song has little quirks, but you see how they all really come together. And the repertoire is strong, mainly because the melodies are very strong. They're very distinct. They're very beast. They're very catchy, but they're also very strong. There's emphasis on the melodies, and to be honest with you, they're focusing on the right things, because you see how K-pop nowadays it's all about the gimmick. It's all about, okay, let's go act cute, or okay, let's strip, okay, let's take our shirts off. That's how they sell songs these days. But you see that as time passes, you don't actually remember the song. You only remember that, oh, they were cute, or ooh, nice abs. That's it. That's all you remember about the band. You don't remember the song, and that's something that K-pop has to learn how to pull off. They have to learn that a good song will transcend. It doesn't matter if you have a gimmick or not. Of course, a gimmick will make it sell in the short run, but if you're thinking in the long term, um, you need a good song, you need a strong song, and you need something that can identify to you, not only with with what you were doing on the video, but what you were singing. The melodies will be able to stand on their own. They have to be good melodies. And on this album, there were a lot of good melodies. The good thing about it is they pulled it off. It wasn't just because the melodies were nice that this album is strong. It was because they were able to give it some life. They were able to make it like a Beast album, like all their past albums, but with much stronger melodies. That's basically the main reason why I like this album so much, and the main reason why I do think that Beast are really have the possibility to lead their generation. If they keep it up, they will be amazing, literally. Okay. Yes. No, really. One thing I complain about a lot when it comes to K-pop is that they get all their musical jargon wrong. They call a lead single a title track. Yeah, basically that's my biggest frustration. But yeah, they have all these weird terms. They call them PA, a manager. No, but so when I saw the track list for this, and then I saw unplugged and orchestra versions, I was like, okay, okay. I was sort of expecting the unplugged version to still have drums, and the orchestra version to only have a string section on top of whatever instrumental that was. That obviously before I heard the album. So, but then so they're at the end of the album. So I was listening to the original songs, and then so we got the unplugged version of Lightless, and then I was like, oh my god, this is unplugged. I mean, well, obviously it's a recorded unplugged, so they must have plugged the guitars but in theory, an unplugged version is when you use acoustic guitars, or or you literally unplug them. And so, yeah, they got it right. And then the orchestra version. I mean, obviously it's not a full orchestra, but they didn't just slap on a string section. They added a piano part, easy to, but they added in a wind section. So I was like, whoa, yes. So they got that right. Well, partially. I mean, it's better than everyone else, and they got the main concept of these two right. So yay. I only actually have 5 points, and it's the third point already. So number 4, identity. They have since Bad Girl, they've from Bad Girl to this one. There is a huge from Bad Girl to Single Friend is fiction. They've you can really see the difference. I mean, they're almost worlds apart, almost. But when you look in between, when you see how they grew from Bad Girl to fiction, it actually makes sense. It does. It does make sense. Obviously, it does. So knowing this, they actually do have identity. They actually, one way or another, they actually do know who they are, and a lot of that is due to the fact that their vocals are rather distinct. Actually, the hooks. It's basically two things make a Beast song for me: the hooks and the vocals. The hooks are one word, I mean sometimes two words. They're repetitive but melodic, and then their vocals, they have sometimes they sound cheap, sometimes, but they actually they match the song. You know how I complain about Kain's voice sounding cheap? That's because she's singing all the wrong songs. But Bees actually do kind of sound like their vocals are reminiscent of hers, but the songs they sing are right for their voices, and that does a lot to how they present themselves, and so everything. Actually, I wouldn't have a problem if they put in Zoom or Shock into this album, because it would make sense. I think, obviously, I haven't tried listening to them again, but I think they make sense together, and they're moving forward with their music. They're getting more and more and more mature, but without losing the things that make them them. And that's something that I haven't seen a lot in K-pop, and I really, really miss. All I do these days is complain about how acts sound nothing like they were before, and they have no semblance to how they were before, and how whatever. So my last point is sigh. It's not something that I really no. It's one of the bad points of the album, the negative points. There are 2 forgettable songs on the album. No, I mean they're not really. I mean they make sense in relation to the rest of the album. When you listen to the album from start to finish, they are kind of strong. They're good, but you listen to them alone, and they're very easy to forget. They're very common. And like I said, they're good, but there's nothing new about them, and they don't have the same spunk that the rest of the album has. If the rest of the album is here, they're around here, maybe. Yeah. So, yeah, but that's about it. So below this vlog, or if you're reading it on the blog, it's my texture, which now I wrote before I made this vlog, so it has more. It's more packed and has more stuff. So yeah, go read it.